Hello beautiful beloveds, this is Stephanie Parashar, Divine Light, coming to you from Aotearoa, New Zealand. I'm going to record this recording a little bit earlier because I'm going away this weekend, so I just thought I would do this recording now. And I've been actually trying to put together quite a few things for you to try and consolidate some of the information that's been coming through for this week, and it's definitely a lot. The words are, and I really find this an overused word, but until we come up with something better, I guess this is the description, and that is intense. So yes, intense in many, many ways, how that's playing out for people in terms of big changes, big shifts, big occurrences in people's lives, big events, things that are happening that are involving sort of a lot of deep and big experiences, I guess, for a lot of people. It could be an example of an illness or an accident, or relationship breakups, job changes, moving homes, so many those big things that create big changes in people's lives and quite intense situations for people. Last week I think I mentioned that I had the neighbours where I live had a big sort of argument involving physical violence that resulted in me having to call the police, and things like that. So people are really, really feeling the energies right now, and it's people are getting big things happening in their lives. So I've written down a few things to remind me. Now I am recording this outside. I do like to sit outside and sit beside my lake. It's been a little bit rainy and a little bit wet. And you might hear, noises from outside, which is usually the birds. They always like to chime in at certain points of the video, just to often, I think, to confirm things that I'm saying. I really feel that they do. So the words that I've been getting, or the feelings that I've been getting, are around what's been described to me as to do with the polar shift. So we're really experiencing the extreme versions of polarities. So obviously I've talked about these in my previous videos. The main and obvious polarities that we have on earth are between dark and light, and male and female, and so and then obviously you've got different versions of that to varying degrees within opinions and perspectives. So you've got on one side, for example, the left politics that are about caring about people and the environment, and then on the right you've got people that care more about money. You've also got that playing out of in relationships where we've got, for example, within the twin flame community, we talk about the runner and the chaser, the person who has more of an attachment that is more codependent, and someone that's more of a sort of avoidant bonder, person who wants to kind of avoid intimacy. So and another example of a polarity that's come up for me this week that I will talk about a little bit more in depth is the difference between the religions. I mean, you've got religion, Orthodox religion on one end, and you've got sort of spirituality on another polarity. So how that is also playing within our environment, within our earth, and where we're sitting in the universe. I kind of got a sense this week, a really weird sense, when I looked out at the horizon, that I felt like we were on a slant, and it felt like we were tipping, and I just got this strange sort of sense of this feeling as if we were tipping. And I kind of tuned into that. My spirit guide sort of did talk to me about the fact that we are in a polar shift right now. We are going through, and I guess the scientists would explain all of this, and I did have looked it up a little bit on the internet, but there isn't, to be quite honest, a lot of information about this, and it's not really clear how these things have happened. And because I'm not a scientist, I can't explain it in a scientific way, but I get this information spiritually. So and then they showed me how that what happens is that there is a massive reversal of the poles. So the poles, and that's the way in which the magnetics of the earth rotate. So at the moment there's sort of when I've talked about again in my previous videos, the electromagnetic field that runs around the earth that goes in a particular direction, going north and down and around to south, is now going to change direction and go down south towards and then up it again on the outside, and then come back into north. So Apparently that is going to change. There's no explanation according to when that happens. Apparently there's no cycle to it. It can sort of, the frequency of when that happens is very random, and it sort of looks like a barcode when you see that this has happened at various stages throughout time. And I can't really recall from looking at what I did find on the internet about this when the last reversal was, but I think perhaps some people attribute that reversal to maybe what happened with Atlantis, so it could have been in that sort of time frame. And again, because I'm not good at maths, I can't remember numbers, not my strong point, sorry. So again, the image that Spirit shows me, my guides show me, is it's kind of the effect that has on Earth to people that live on it. Because I'm like, right, what happens there? Do we all like fall off the planet Earth? Like, what happens to gravity, and where do we go when the world sort of tips upside down? Is that what happens? And they're showing me kind of like a Ferris wheel. So that's why I have put a Ferris wheel picture on this video image, is that, so let's just say you're sitting at the top of the Ferris wheel, you've gone around a few times, you get to the top, and then it sometimes stops, and you're right at that top point where it's just about to tip over the edge, and it just stops and it waits there, and it's quite scary that you're sort of sitting on the edge, and then after a while you're like, oh, actually it's not so scary sitting up here on the edge, I'm kind of enjoying this, and then it starts to go again, and then you get that really horrible feeling of, oh my god, I'm falling, and then it sort of goes round and comes back round again, and you go underneath and you sort of feel like you're going backwards for a bit, and then it comes back around and comes up the top. So they're kind of showing me that that's kind of how it feels, and to not have a sense that even though your sort of gravity and your biological, physiological response would be to grab on and hold on to this sort of movement, which feels like I'm losing control here. What I'm getting told is just chill out, surrender, just wait, just go with it, and it'll just kind of correct itself, and it'll all come into alignment. So, apparently our the degrees of how our Earth's axis has also been moving anyway. So it may be that this is something gradual that we may not even notice happening, that just happens slowly over time, or it could be that some sort of big giant thing happens where it suddenly just sort of tips. So anyway, just something to think about. That's not just to scare anyone, but it is just, and it is related to, because the two words that I keep being urged to write down are polarity and duality. And I sort of asked, what is the twin flame role in all of this? And how a twin flame came to me was originally was with the words bridging the polarity. So because we are in a dualistic environment in the third dimension where we're living, we get these polarized duality, opposition, or what appears to be opposites, operating at the same time. It's so part of the twin flame role is to bridge that polarity and come into the middle point, to come into the balance. And I have sort of talked and touched on this in previous videos. And I asked, what is that point? What is that middle point? What is that balance? And how do we find that? And the same message always comes. Well, it's always going to be love. Love is the central point. Light, peace, calm, and I've written another word there, but I can't actually read what it is at the moment, sorry. So basically, and to make sense of all this, people feel as if they're either one or the other. They don't like that, they can't identify often with the other aspect. They often just want to sit in one side of that duality experience and only feel that they belong to one particular thing. It's either you are one or the other. You can't really, somehow or other, for some reason we've been conditioned to think that you can't be both. But there is the meeting point in the middle, which I will say again comes into that balance, which is finding the love in the situation. So that is what twin flame's role is, to come into this, and that's the same where we're bridging predominantly in terms of relationship is between the masculine and the feminine, which has been the major polarized aspect of duality, and seeing that you're either one or the other, and polarizing the two, and also comparing them, which is better or worse, or one or the other, or better. So we find that sweet place in the middle, which is the unconditional love and the respect and the light and the peace and the calm. And so you can be those things in the middle. It doesn't have to be one or the other, right? So I just want to use the example, and I don't normally like to jump on bandwagons, but I do feel that I want to just say something about what's been going on this week in terms of the statement that Doreen Virtue has made. And I want to talk about Doreen Virtue because she has been quite instrumental in my life, and I guess if it wasn't really for her, I potentially would not be here, because when I got introduced to Doreen Virtue, I was right in the midst of one of my deepest, darkest times of my life, and I'd just come back from India. I just had been quite involved in studying under gurus, and they very much had come into the Eastern way of spirituality, and sort of been also within in a relationship where the father of my child is very much, he's a strict Hindu and practices very dogmatically in terms of his religious beliefs. And I had come away from India quite, unsure as to where I really belonged, and went into quite a deep depression after I gave birth to my daughter. I was in a sort of deep, dark place of quite postnatal depression, psychosis, / dark night of the soul / awakening process. And when I got back to New Zealand, it was my mum who brought me one of Doreen Virtue's books, and I started reading about the angels, and it felt just it was just so gentle and so compassionate and so loving, and it felt just so resonant with me, the words that were in that book. And my mum also bought me a pack of oracle cards, and every day I would bring pull an oracle card for myself, and the messages were just always so full of light and so positive, and just really it felt like the angels were kind of saving me in a way, and pulling me out of something where I had got completely lost, and showing me, and I guess that was for me an introduction into what was the New Age philosophies. And so I found that Doreen Virtue has played a major part in my spiritual growth and development, and I pay great tribute to her, and I honour her greatly, and I adore her. And she's just been an amazing teacher and a guide for me on my path. And so recently it's interesting that she has, obviously taken her journey more towards the path of Jesus Christ. And more recently, it's interesting that I had talked about in a couple of my videos in the last few weeks that Jesus has also come very close to me as well in the last few weeks. And I found that very interesting, given that I was brought up an atheist, very much a non-believer within my family, never went to church. If I did ever come into contact with any kind of church, I usually found it really uncomfortable, and sort of, for me, churches had funny smells and everything was stale, and it certainly wasn't a place where I felt loved and accepted and warm. I definitely felt really out of place in a church, and I never resonated with Christianity in the way that religion was practiced. And so when Jesus came to me, I was like, why on earth are you coming to me? Like, I don't even really believe in you. So what's all this about? And and so he said, well, that's why you're the perfect person to come to, because you have not been indoctrinated. You haven't been indoctrinated with so many of the misunderstandings and the misinterpretations that have come through my original teachings, and how they've been unfortunately misunderstood, and that many have used my words and actually turned them around, and it's created this religion that actually, rather than preaches love, which is what I talk about, actually preaches hatred and judgment, and it's far from what I really believe in. And so So I had those kind of messages come through. So I know that I really feel in my heart that Doreen feels that way too, and she talks in that way, and I know that I now understand more about what Jesus really talks about. And I think many Christians even say, which again seems really strange to me, that you are not allowed to have that direct relationship with Jesus. Like, Jesus just doesn't come and talk to you. Like, you've got to actually, say all these prayers and read this book before Jesus can come see you, and you, a non-believer, like, I doubt it. You must be hallucinating. Like, for real? Come on. But actually, what Jesus was saying to me was that many of those types of Christians have become bound. They've become bound by the words of a book. They've become bound by their beliefs, which are actually turning them away from the truth and the light, and actually closing them off to this real openness of their direct line that they can have with Him. And so, again, the church, in many ways, and this is going to sound like a really strong comment that I'm about to make, but it's going to be said because I want to push past the fear that religion has placed on people to be able to have that direct line. Because what I believe has happened is that the churches have become tainted by what is actually Satan. It's actually the evil, the evil energy has come in and used the words of God to project back at the people, and also prevented people from accessing the truth and the light and the love, and got in the way of it through creating the priests who actually cut people off from the direct source. And to me, that just seems, that's sacrilege. That's sacrilege. What I'm saying, I don't believe is sacrilege, but some people would think that it is. They would turn that around and say that what I've just said is totally against. But what I'm speaking out against is organised religion that is so not the loving words of Jesus Christ. Like, I'm not saying all churches do this. Like, there are definitely some churches out there that are probably, practicing in that truth and that loving way. But now what's going to start happening is, and I think in many ways Doreen Virtue is a catalyst for this, is that these discussions must be had, and that what will happen is that people will be confused and they won't know who's speaking the truth and who's speaking false. And they talk about, false prophets and people that quote the Bible as such. Like, the Bible's got some really great comments in it, for sure. It's got some really amazing statements of truth, but also within the Bible is we must be careful not to read it completely literally, because it is based on certain people's interpretations that were living at a certain time of history. And so we can't take all of those words as, I'm getting the word gospel in my head. So, and I'm not even familiar with some of these terms. I'm just, and I fully trust my intuition and my spirit guides, and I urge you that you don't have to listen to me and believe me. Like, I would say, don't believe me, question what I'm saying. But if what I'm saying is resonating with you and you're getting those same messages, trust your intuition, trust your guidance, because what you might find is that it actually does go against a lot of the indoctrination that we've been fed through our society, when religion overlaid into law, and then so now law and religion are tied up together. So how better way to control people? I mean, it's a whole controlling system. And so what Jesus preaches is freedom of your choice and your ability to be free from any shackles of any indoctrination or any fear-based preaching that tells you this is the way. Just leave all of that and be okay with going your way, going your own way, and doing it in your way that feels best. So what I feel, and coming back again to Doreen, because she kind of is the catalyst for these kind of conversations, which is what she's meant to be doing, because I believe, as always, Doreen is in absolute service to the divine, and she has been given another mission at this point. And as much as it feels like a loss to, and if you want to polarize us completely and say, she's almost like jumped ship from the New Age and she's gone across to the Christians, and if you want to create duality and say that we're separate from each other, go and do that. But I would say that most, there's a whole big group of people within both Christian communities and the New Age communities that would be totally on the same page, that we'd be totally agreeing with most of the same things. It's just the people on the extreme polarities that create the division and create the difference and create the accusations and the judgments and the fears. So, and those people were coming from the same place. So maybe it's just about that. Let's just divide it up between the fearers and the haters and the lovers, because the lovers, we all want to get along and we just want to have peace and we just want to live in harmony, and who cares who said what and when, and as long as what they were saying was truth and love and light, then so be it. So anyway, I think that's kind of enough on that subject. I hope I haven't offended anyone. That's definitely not my intention. If you have been offended, then maybe that's just part of that whole surrender and letting go and trusting and just being okay with these times that are changing, when I know a lot of people are not sure what to believe and what to hang on to and what to go with and who to listen to. I would say just trust your guidance, your intuition, what you know is best, what you feel is best. Don't believe in anyone else, and just trust in life itself, trust in the laws of nature, trust in the universe. Nobody's out to harm or punish anyone. It's humans that have created a lot of the misunderstandings and misinterpretations through the fear of the duality and separation has created a lot of that. And we're always making our way back to source. We're always finding our way, and there are many ways. There are many ways, and not any of those ways are necessarily wrong. Like some people have to go down that hard way. They choose that hard way. They choose that long way. They choose the long way round, with many life lessons along the way. Well, that's their choice and that's their experience and that's what they've chosen to do. It's not to say that way is any better or worse, or it is what it is. So okay, right, so I'm just going to tune in right here and just create a little bit of peace around us, and just invite you to come into your heart space and to really feel into your body, and to allow some nice big deep breaths in, and to just feel your own essence and trust in your own sense of self and your own uniqueness and your own divine connection to source via your heart, and however you like to make that connection, however that feels right to you. But for me, that connection always feels calm, loving, peaceful, and just right. So I'm going to leave you with that, and I will be in touch again really soon. If you feel the need to contact me for a personal session, just contact me via my website, and I'll be happy to meet with you to do some healing work of whatever you feel to do. And I just want to add a little post note to this video. It's just come through as I've done my evening meditation, that love is winning. I'm sure you've heard people talk about this before, but I guess people are getting to the stage where we've had a lot of control, and the balance has been out of balance from the dark side. We have been tipped out into that. There's been an imbalance with a lot of things that have been very negative and very dark and very controlling, and so, but now, because of that energy, it's kind of self-destructing. It's turning in on itself, because it's realizing that it's no longer got that power. It's losing its power, and so it is pretty much self-destructing through its own negativity and its own darkness and its own hopelessness. It can now see that it's not going anywhere, and there's enough people that have turned from that place and gone, probably those ones that have gone through the dark night of the soul and come, whoa, there's no way further to go than there, and you either die or you come back and you experience love and you find out what love is. And it takes a lot of energy to come into that loving space. It takes a big deep breath and a big different kind of effort to be more conscious, to see how to be love in each moment. And so yeah, I just want to feel into the fact that there's the people that are suffering from, you know, the despair of being in that imbalanced place, are realizing that they're reaching out and they're asking for help, and they're seeing that help and the answer in the way of peace and what they're looking for is coming in the way of love and healing, and that if we can be love in each moment, we can totally shift the energy. And there you go. See, I told you that whenever I say anything significant, my animals round here, the geese, are just saying, yeah, right? And they're saying, stop being so serious about it. Love is funny. Like, have a laugh about it. Like, I had a real good laugh today in a classroom where I was teaching teen parents about consent and communication and being assertive and teaching assertiveness skills. And you know, it could be a heavy topic, but we just kept having fun. You know, everybody had such a great sense of humour, and some of it was quite, you know, off the spectrum of a bit, you know, out there. But I think when you push people out there a little bit more, they like that because they feel the realness of that. It's not a fake, it's more authentic. So anyway, now I'm starting to rant because those geese kind of just blew me away. And that's the kind of thing that I love about this journey, is all these signs and synchronicities and messages, and it's just great. So okay, right, that's it. It was just supposed to be a quick little postscript there, and I'll leave that with you, and just stay in the love. It's cool. Have fun out there. See you later.